Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Monday, April 29th meeting of the City of Evanston's Administration and Public Works Committee. I'm Jonathan Nieuwsma, council member for the 4th Ward, chairing the festivities this evening. We will begin with a roll call, please.
Councilmember Burns,
Recording in progress.
Councilmember Reed, Councilmember Kelly, Councilmember Harris,
Present.
Councilmember Nieuwsma.
Here. A quorum being present, I'll call the meeting to order, and we will continue with our agenda. The next item is approval of the minutes from our April 8th meeting.
I move for the approval of minutes from April 8th, 2024.
It's been moved by Councilmember Harris, seconded by Councilmember Kelly. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The minutes are approved unanimously. That brings us to public comment. There is nobody that signed up for public comment at ANPW on this blue sheet, and I don't believe there is anybody that has signed up online for public comment. No. So since nobody has signed up for public comment at ANPW, we will continue with the ANPW agenda, noting that council will start in half an hour or so, and there will be another opportunity for public comment at that time. So that brings us to the consent agenda. Councilmember Kelly has already asked to remove A2, A6, A12, A16, and A17. Councilmember Harris, is there anything that you'd like to remove?
Say that again, A2, A6.
2, 6, 12, 16, and 17.
16 and 17, 16 and 17. Okay, no.
I'm going to also add A13 to that list. So without further discussion, could somebody make a motion on the consent agenda minus items A2, A6, A12, A13, A16, and A17? Should be.
Move the consent agenda as minus the items stated.
It's been moved by Councilmember Kelly
Second.
and seconded by Councilmember Harris. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The consent agenda is passed by unanimous vote, which brings us to item A2. Councilmember Kelly, can you make a motion on item A2, please?
Yes, I'd like to move item A2, approval of the contract with Monson Nicholas for the Service Center Building 2024 Parking Garage Restoration Bid 2403.
And
A second for
been moved by
discussion.
Councilmember Kelly, seconded by Councilmember Harris. Councilmember Kelly, I believe has some questions.
It's just pretty much a simple question, but just I feel it's important that as a council, we're keeping tab and understanding of our debt. So I know this is listed to come from a 2024 bond of $542,680. Do we know, are you able to tell us, or somebody, how much is rolling off this year? Just to be able to gauge a little bit where our debt is headed, or in terms of bonds.
I would need to defer that to the Finance Department. CFO Desai is coming up.
Great, thank you.
Good evening, Chair, the members of the committee. The amount rolling off this year is around, I think, $11 million. I mean, that's the average we carry. It depends on a little bit, but $10 to $12 million every year.
Thank you. And that's been the case then for 22 and 23 also, about that ballpark? Okay. Just, I think it's important that we just have an idea and that the public knows where we've saved in terms of adding new debt, so that we understand that. Thank you. That's my only question.
Right. Any further discussion? All in favor of item A2, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Item A2 passes unanimously. Next is item A6. Councilmember Kelly, if you would care to make a motion?
Sure. Okay, so I'd like to move item A6, approval of contract to award to Brightview for business district maintenance services.
I'll second.
It's been moved by Councilmember Kelly, seconded by Councilmember Harris. Councilmember Kelly for discussion.
Thank you. So, again, I had opposed this when we contracted the year before. I would really like to see this in-house. And I just want to get a better understanding as to why this isn't an option to hire sufficient staff so that it's a better quality, better bang for our buck for residents. So I understand that we have to move forward with this contract, but I would like to see us providing this service in-house. Again, for the residents, it's far better. For overall, it just provides a better service. So I don't know who can answer that question.
There we go.
Thank you.
Chair recognizes Mr. Zalmazak.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Councilmember Kelly, I'm Paul Zalmazak, Economic Development Manager. That is a question that I really would need support from my Public Works team. I don't believe Ms. Biggs could support me with that. So it's a Director Kano question. He's not in the office. But what I will tell you, based on what, may I continue?
Testing.
That was almost seamless. That was like 99% seamless.
Anderson's amazing.
So what I would say is we would pursue that for 2025, building that team now, and going through the HR process to identify to do the hires. The entire season would probably pass. It's not something that we've not considered, and it's something that we will consider for the following season. But for the immediate term, it's really our only choice.
So you say it's something thank you very much. I appreciate that. And I appreciate that going forward, so staff will recommend creating new positions, or are these positions that haven't been filled? I also see here we have our staff here. And so I guess I do want to also have a discussion about low staffing levels this evening, since we do have so many of our wonderful staff employees here with us this evening. And since this would be, as you acknowledged, a better way to go forward. So was this considered?
Sure. Again, I'm not going to stand at the microphone and say that we've determined that it's a better option. We're looking at it simply from the ability to implement it as soon as possible. And I am going to assume, based on conversations I had with Director Kano, that it's a better pricing option. But that doesn't mean that's the only thing we consider. But for this season, to get the ball rolling on continuing our cleanup efforts, we recommend this particular contract with the commitment that we're going to meet internally before the budget season. I think I even mentioned that in the memo, to determine if there's a better alternative for delivering this service. The one thing I will say, just to add, Brightview does does all of the downtown landscaping. They're already vested here, so they'll be on site, mobilized. They can pick up some brooms and then do the extra work. We will, like I said, we will commit this summer before budget hearings to talk about how we're going to fund it for moving forward, perhaps with an in-house team.
Great, thank you.
That's the most I can commit tonight on this.
I appreciate that. So, but just so I understand, so this would be this isn't a matter of filling open positions right now. This would be a matter of creating new positions.
It has to be created because we're talking, the way that this scope is drafted, we're talking about twice a day, particularly seasonally, summertime, downtown cleanup, business district, downtown trash removal, weekly, every business district sweeping, litter cleanup, and then daily sweeping, litter, curbside, et cetera, et cetera. The stickers that our previous contractor didn't do a great job removing, so on and so forth. It's that kind of work. We don't have the staff for that. Graffiti, that kind of thing.
Okay, thank you. No, and I greatly appreciate it, being an alderman for the downtown. I'm very happy to see this attention dedicated to our downtown. I'd also like it on record that moving forward, I absolutely would prefer to see this in-house. So I know as residents, generally the sentiment is that the quality of the service is improved if it's in-house. We have workers and staff who are committed to the city, who are part of the city on a long-term basis. So I just wanted to record that. That's my comment on this item. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Harris, do you have anything? Because I want to make a few comments and observations here. So this is cost of $380,000 compared to what we paid last year, which was just a bit over $500,000 for roughly the same scope. Not included in this scope, which was included last year, was the street ambassador kind of human contact type thing. So that's not included in this, correct?
Correct. It technically wasn't, the street ambassador concept was never fully executed. And conceptually, it was really just kind of reporting, if you see something, say something. So it was kind of a slightly higher level of service. We're still going to ask Brightview to do that. I think they do that now as they're in town, but there's no additional training that they're going to have. It's just a matter of if there's some kind of activity that
Right.
seems.
And we are in the process of setting up the CARE program, the alternative responders, so that starts to address, or actually more than addresses, a lot of what we had kind of conceptualized under the Street Plus Ambassador program.
Correct.
And in terms of funding source, at least for this year, we're looking at ARPA funding.
Correct. There's, Sarah Flax could explain in more detail, but it's a kind of an agglomeration of several interest accounts, if I'm saying that correctly.
Right. And then moving forward, once ARPA disappears, or once we've spent all of ARPA, I would like to look at the community benefits package coming from Northwestern, which very specifically includes, I believe it's $250,000 a year for things like this in downtown Evanston. So whether it's all or some of that money, that's a discussion that we can have with Northwestern.
Yeah, that would be a great use of those funds.
Great. Okay. Anything else on item A6? We'll let the record reflect that Councilmember Reed has joined us. All right, seeing no further.
Yeah, I just wanted to double check on this. So this is the contract, sorry, walking a bit late. So A6, we're talking about the contract that will replace Streetwise. So is Howard Street, and while we had Streetwise, or is that, I'm sorry,
Street Plus.
Streetwise is the newspaper folks. Say it again?
Street Plus.
Street Plus. While we had Street Plus, I got a number of complaints from on Howard Street about not a great pickup schedule. How do you think that will be addressed within this?
Well, so for Howard Street, for everything outside of downtown, our public works staff will be taking care of trash.
Okay, so Howard Street will not be included in this.
Howard Street will be included in a weekly walk down the curb lines, pick up bottles, things like that, remove things from the landscape beds.
But
remove
trash pickup
stickers.
specifically
But
will be
trash
done.
can
Okay, okay.
emptying is public works.
Okay, and I don't want to get too into the weeds here, but I think is it possible for folks to wear, are they going to be wearing something Evanston branded while they're out on the streets?
That wasn't necessarily included in their contract. We may be able to ask them to add some kind of vest that says Evanston Brightview on it instead of just Brightview, or.
Yeah, because I think there is something to folks seeing that the city of Evanston, that we're out there, folks are cleaning up, folks are doing the job, and so if the biggest letters that we can get that have Evanston's logo and the name of the city on, I think it would be helpful.
Right, without, if I may just, I want to set the expectation. I think if we put the word Evanston in, I think that's what we decided in the past. We felt if we were using a city logo that it might detract from the good work that our public works team and our police officers and the like, who are employed and not contracted. So we'll figure out a way to make
Yeah,
sure that's
yeah.
branded as Evanston, but not city of.
Right. All right.
Is that fair?
That's
All right, thank you.
All right. Seeing no further discussion on item A6, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Item A6 passes
Thank you.
unanimously. Moving us to item A12. If someone would like to make a motion on A12,
I'll move item A12. Sorry. Move item A12, approval of change order number 3 to the agreement with MKSK Incorporated for the Independence and Larimer Park Improvements Project.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved by Councilmember Reed, seconded by Councilmember Kelly. Is there any discussion on item A12? Councilmember Kelly.
No, I apologize. No discussion.
Just a point of, well, let's pass this first.
Okay, all in favor of item A12, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item A12 passes unanimously.
Point of information, and I may be getting my answer now. What other items were pulled off the consent agenda?
13, 16, and 17.
13, 16, and 17. Okay.
Yes. So if someone would,
I'll move item A13, approval of change order number 3 to the agreement for Civic Center and Police Fire Headquarter relocation feasibility study, RFP number 21 through 27.
is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved by Councilmember Reed, seconded by Councilmember Kelly. Is there any conversation on item A13? Because I do have something to add if no one else wants to go first. Okay, what we're talking about here is extending the contract with AECom, under which they have done the Civic Center evaluation. And we're, with this vote, would be extending the contract to assign them the task of doing the public engagement, which I certainly support, and I think that if it's not unanimous, it's near unanimous support of the city council that we do want to do robust public engagement as we determine as a community what is going to happen with this building that we're sitting in now. So I'm fully committed to moving that process forward. One of the options in front of us, which staff has not included in their initial recommendation, is for an additional cost of $17,000 to do a statistically valid survey, which would go out to the community members, and this would be in addition to an online community survey that anybody who wanted to, anybody who had strong feelings could sign on to the online community survey. But my understanding of this statistically valid survey, would be more of a professional and kind of scientifically sound picture of Evanston's population and the views at large on the Civic Center. So I think that is information that would be valuable to have, since we would not, without this statistically valid survey, we would not be hearing from folks who don't have strong opinions. And there are indeed a number of folks in town who have strong opinions about this building. I think it's important to know what other people think as well. So I'm inclined to, and would like to support, in fact, I'll make a motion that we direct staff to include the $17,000 for the statistically valid survey.
Second.
So any
I
further
have my
discussion
light
on that?
Your laptop's blocking the lights.
I can see it, though.
Yes. Yeah, I have, I support that. I just want to hear from staff or who, what makes this study statistically significant?
When you do a statistically valid survey, they look very carefully at the demographics of Evanston, and then they reach out specifically to a random sample of people that match the demographics. So demographics racially, demographics geographically, demographics age-wise, and make sure that what they're getting is a representative sample of everybody across Evanston. The negative values or the criticism that we get sometimes on statistically valid surveys is that if somebody just randomly really wants to talk about the project and participate in the survey, they may not be selected. And the other item is that they tend to take a while to do because they send out surveys to a set of people, and if they don't get good responses, then they need to replace the people that did not respond, so then they're finding new people and sending it to those people. So it can draw out the process of public engagement.
And thank you for that. Thank you for that understanding. And then, sorry if I missed it, but is there, what kind of feedback would we be getting from this?
I think we're looking at getting more qualitative feedback from people about information on if they're interested on things like how they get services, how often do they visit the Civic Center, do they, how important is it that it be located adjacent to bus transit, how important be it aligns with our CARP programs, people access services online more frequently, more things like that, not so much setting up an option to say, hey, do you want it located specifically on this property or on this property, but more talking about the types of, or the way that they're accessing.
Yeah. Yeah, so kind of a UI, user interface kind of survey. I wanted to make that clear for folks because I don't know if anyone, watching this may have thought that the survey was something else about location. But also, is there going to be more opportunity for either the council or someone, staff in the council to engage with the survey? Because
currently, what we had planned was,
and I'm sorry, specifically design of the survey.
so we had not planned for that, no, not specifically. We had instead discussed basing it off of some initial conversations that were had with City Council where we asked City Council similar questions.
Because I just want us to think, if we're sending out this survey to understand how folks engage with the Civic Center, and we've already chosen, at least for the next 5 to 7 years, a new Civic Center, and we have essentially, by the time this survey is done, we will, I think, be at that new Civic Center, and it will have been built out already. I think having a survey, paying whatever amount for a survey for a Civic Center that isn't going to be iterated until 7 years down the line, I don't know if it I don't know if the benefit is there, unless there's a way that we're going to be able to use this information more immediately, and I just didn't hear that from what I heard thus far.
I think there is some truth to that criticism. It is the nature of capital projects that they take a while to plan, to document, and then to implement. So a lot of the information we get is not going to be immediately actionable, but there would be information that we get that we can utilize to better improve our services.
I would, I support the survey. I think at this time I'm not going to support it. But
You said two things in
I-
direct opposition to
I
each
support
other.
the idea of the survey. I think it needs to happen a bit closer to the time that we're actually planning for a new Civic Center and designing what, what the space will look like. Because, 3 years down the line, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, the world was quite different. There wasn't as much virtual interaction, and who knows what's going to happen 3-4 years down the line from now. So I support the survey 3 years from now, 2-3 years from now. I don't know if it's worth the expenditure at this particular moment, so I'm going to vote no.
I think the reason why we had included the survey as an option, and then the staff actually removed it just based on how much time it was going to take, is because the council had expressed a desire to have discussions and potentially make decisions about the future location of the Civic Center within the next 12-month period. And so that is when, so the survey would be applying to the decision that is made about the ultimate location of the Civic Center.
Yeah, I hear that, and I appreciate that, and I'll wrap up my comments here with, I think that the questions about location, one of the potential questions that you mentioned was about, access to public transportation and bus line. I think the answer, I don't know if I need a survey. The answer is yes, we want it as close to public transit, and so I don't know, I think we know what residents need as far as location. They want somewhere where they can, public transit, somewhere where they can park, somewhere that's easily accessible. So again, I think for now, unless there's something I'm missing that we could get from this survey. Am I missing something that would, yeah, so then right now, I don't support it, but I will in the future.
Councilmember Kelly.
Thank you. Yes, I would also support the survey. I think at this point, we need to do everything we can to have as robust community participation as possible. With input, I think the community still is feeling broadsided by the whole lease, the special or business. So I absolutely would support it. I think whatever we can do to bring the community to the table. Councilmember Reed, when you're speaking of it, sort of as if it was just assumed that we're going to build a new civic center, you're talking upwards of $100 to $200 million, huge expense. And I think we're talking about also finances and saving the taxpayer as well as the interests and the needs of the residents, again, who I think right now really we do have to do as much outreach as we can with regard to these decisions.
Just quick
Thank
point
you.
of,
I'd like to move this along because we do have a long agenda this evening. I'm going to wrap up the discussion on this motion by making one last pitch, and maybe Councilmember Reed can change his mind, but I anticipate that we will have the results of this statistically valid survey back in time to inform the conversation that Ms. Biggs was referring to about what we are going to do with this building. That's a conversation we want to have sooner rather than later, not 6-7 years down the road. I would like to have as accurate a picture as possible about what community members think. Community members at large, not just community members who are particularly passionate about this issue. So I think it's very informative. It will be very informative to have this information.
just
So,
point of information for myself to
Yeah.
maybe flip my vote. Ms. Biggs, again, based on the description I heard from you of what would be on the survey, I didn't hear the questions that Councilmember Kelly or Councilmember Nieuwsma just raised being in that list about, what we're going to do with this building. I don't think that's what I heard you asking, or you saying that would be on the survey.
It was not my initial intention to put that on the survey, but if the city council directs it, then it is something that could be included.
this survey will be asking questions that will inform the conversation about what to do with this building.
I can be a yes if the council is going to have more of an opportunity to talk about design at some point and what questions will be on the survey. I can be a yes, because I do think there needs to be more council input. And so it's actually informative to us.
Okay. I'm going to call the vote on this motion to include the statistically valid survey for $17,000. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? That amendment passes. So now let me call for the vote on the underlying motion. Unless there's any further discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries unanimously as well. Moving us to item A16.
I'll move item A16, Resolution 6R24, authorizing the city manager to execute an easement agreement with Northwestern University for subsurface installation and maintenance of a telecommunications system.
Second.
It's been moved by Councilmember Reed, seconded by Councilmember Kelly. Is there any discussion? I believe Councilmember Kelly, this one was.
Yeah, it's just a simple question. I think it's let's see, what's the total? About $1,078,000 for, it's $78,000 for the 2024 budget. That would be the revenue from the easement. Is that part of our, I'm just trying to understand, is that part of our budget in terms of revenue, or is that new revenue? That
Sounds like a
easement.
question for CFO, if he's here. Or
Not the CFO.
somebody else.
Hi, Dimitri Shub, interim CIO. So we've been working with Northwestern on the easement agreement. This is a new 20-year agreement that renews a legacy agreement. The $78,000 in revenue for fiscal 2024 would likely have been, it would likely be a new source of revenue for this year, and then ongoing for the following 19 years.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of item A16, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item A16 passes unanimously, bringing us to item A17.
I'll move item A17, Resolution 31R24, authorizing the city clerk to sign an Illinois Department of Transportation resolution for improvement under the Illinois Highway Code for street patching, pavement markings, crack sealing, and pavement rejuvenation of various Evanston streets in the amount of $970,000.
It's been moved by Councilmember Reed, seconded by Councilmember Harris. Is there any discussion on item A17? Councilmember Kelly.
Again, just some questions for clarification. So when would this work be completed? Do we know approximately?
This work is planned to be completed in the spring primarily, so we would anticipate doing this work over the next few months.
Okay, so that amount then would be paid this year?
Yes.
So I understand, because I know sometimes there's we're waiting for the IDOT bills and for work that's been done, and so this is expected to be done and billed this year?
This does not get billed directly to IDOT. Motor fuel tax is overseen by IDOT, so this is our City of Evanston money sitting in an account at IDOT, and for IDOT to authorize its expenditure, the city council has to approve a resolution saying that they support the use of motor fuel tax for this. However, the money, we have to provide that documentation to IDOT, but the money is actually paid for by the City of Evanston
Through the motor fuel tax fund?
through the motor fuel tax funds.
So, just so I understand, so that allocation would be paid this year?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, that's all.
All right, any further discussion on item A17? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Item A17 passes unanimously, and that concludes the business of
Just
APW. Councilmember Reed,
Was there someone else who?
and then Councilmember Kelly.
Thank you. I don't know, I know our ASME union didn't sign up to speak, but I did have a couple of questions, unless folks will be also at our city council. I am concerned about, I'm reading these points here, and I wondered if somebody would be willing to speak to, if we could just allow a few minutes to understand. I think we should understand what the issues are with regard to, I have concerns about staffing and vacancies. I've expressed this often to upper management, so I don't know if this is, but
I will, I don't know if this is the,
Councilmember Kelly is done, Councilmember Reed.
I'm not quite
and
done.
then
So it's the staffing, the seniority rights, the discipline, mostly, I'm concerned about injuries, obviously, the staffing levels, the standby pay, seniority rights. I guess I would like just a brief, if it's possible, and again, I understand because you didn't sign up for public comment that maybe you'd rather not, but otherwise, I would ask for just a brief overview of these points.
As chair of AP&W this evening, I would prefer to not go off agenda. And I know I assume folks are here intending to speak during public comment at city council. So
I don't think they are, that's why.
I would like to hear what they have to say as well, but we do have an agenda and a lot of business to get through. So Councilmember Reed?
yeah, I also wanted to acknowledge the folks from AFSCME that are here. Thank you for your service to our city. Thank you. We see the work that you do every day without seeing you do it, and so we really appreciate you. And we are the Administration and Public Works Committee. I do think taking a few minutes, if there is, a union rep, I see someone raising their hand, and I think just taking a few minutes just to hear them out, and we don't have to, we'll take in the information and then deal with it. So, Chair, at your discretion.
Just let me inquire with Corporation Counsel as to our ability to entertain this
Thank you, Chair.
suggestion.
Members of APW, as long as you're not going to take a vote on anything, you can have someone come up and address the committee.
Okay, great. So maybe we could just, I assume you're representing AFSCME, just take a few minutes and fill us in, and then I would like to wrap up so we can move on.
I'd like to make a comment before they begin. If you have somebody that's able to sign up for the later part or coming back, that's what's important. We want to hear your voices. We want to hear what you have to say, but there's a protocol. but the recognition that you all are here in great numbers indicate, it rings a bell. So we want to be clear about that we're paying attention up here, that there's a bell being rung. We're going to take about 5 minutes because we do have other business, but if you all sign up for city council or for the next AP&W, you will be afforded the time that you really want. And thank you for the information.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Maybe if you could just, with each bullet point, give
Yeah,
us a.
no, I'm just, no more than 5 minutes, please.
Thank you. Actually, thank you very much. My name is Eileen O'Neill. I'm the local 1891 AFSCME Union President here in Evanston. Thank you. We actually were not intending to speak this evening. We just wanted to come and make people aware that there's a problem in Public Works. We work very well with all departments in the city. We only have a challenge with one department, which is why we came to the Public Works Committee as opposed to the City Council. We're not here to derail your meeting or to take any more time than necessary. We did hand out these very few brief talking points that we are disappointed that the recently negotiated contract, they're not honoring standby pay, our members' seniority rights, the progressive discipline process. Things that you can handle with a verbal warning, they go directly to suspension. We take our members who have a great attitude and love working at the city, and we beat them down by giving them discipline after discipline over minor infractions, and we give them a suspension when we already have low staffing levels. It just impacts our city more, and it impacts the residents more. We are concerned about the low staffing levels. We think that it has a direct impact on our injuries, which have doubled under this current director. Our Public Works members are not disposable. They are human beings, and they have the right to a healthy and safe work environment. And cutting corners on staffing, cutting corners on preventative maintenance, and cutting corners on safety is having a direct physical impact on our workers. Thank you very much for your time.
Can you walk us through a little bit about the standby pay? I think you're still within 5 minutes so that I understand everybody else.
Thank you. We have very clearly defined standby pay rates for different times, different weekend, holiday, workday in the contract. This is specifically for weather events or emergencies at the city where members may be called. So we have, for example, CDL drivers, their commercial driver's license. If there's a weather event and they might be called, you put them on standby so that they can plan, so that they can get sleep for the evening, so that they don't go to a football game and have a few beers, that they are ready and fit for duty.
Paid standby.
Pardon?
It's a paid standby.
Yes.
Correct. It lets them know that we might call you. You are getting the stipend so that you answer the phone and are ready to respond to Evanston and clear the streets, clear the ice off the roadways. When you don't give us standby pay and you expect our members to answer the phone and then try to discipline them if they don't answer the phone, they're not on duty at that time and they are not fit to come to work. If you're going to be working through the night, you need to get sleep and be prepared for that evening. It's in the contract for a reason. It's how a Public Works Department functions. We're just asking for Public Works Department to follow the processes that have been longstanding and not make any changes. And I'm sorry if I don't want to exceed your 5 minutes. I appreciate your time. I want to be respectful.
Councilmember Reed has a question.
Certainly.
If we're still within the 5, I'm curious about you gave a specific statistic that injuries have doubled in the last few years. Can you speak more about that?
Absolutely. So injuries across the city are fairly consistent. The workman's comp manager is here. He could speak to it as well. He's not part of AFSCME.
Sure.
I just noticed that he was here. Injuries have been fairly consistent across the departments, across the city. In 2023, we had a spike in injuries in one department. Literally, our injuries in Public Works Department doubled. It is the change in management style. We are only out of the first quarter of 2024, and we are already at half the rate of 2023, which was already doubled from the previous year. We are not seeing any slowing down the trend. We have members who could not be here tonight because they are injured and off duty. They could not be here. That also increases our low staffing levels when you have people on light duty and injured. It's just a perpetual cycle that keeps going.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. And there's a sign-up sheet for City Council public comment out on the table back there.
Thank you. Again, we're only concerned with Public Works Department. We won't be disturbing your council meeting. Thank you, sir.
All right, with no further business to come before ANPW, I will declare this meeting adjourned, and let's start City Council in 10 minutes.